Hello and welcome back to Better Than Adventure. Last time we were here, we were in 8.0. Now we're in 8.0.1. We had some minor bug fixes. I should not have done that. Here we go. Let's take some of this stuff and go... I guess we'll exit over here? Yeah. So, I was off in a, creative world, testing some stuff out. Mainly, the big thing which I was looking into was if I could get a fully automatic farm working for my, So let me guess, yeah, wait, can I... Hmm... The guidebook reset. That's annoying. What is this? What is that? We'll find out one day. Yeah. Hmm? What is that? Oh. What the fuck is ruby glass? So let me get... No? Huh? 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 So what if I... okay. So it's a new building material. What about gloomstone? Can I do something with this? Oh, yeah, right, there's acid. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I was just working on, some stuff related to that. Is my render distance... Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I don't know, because I specifically... I just switched to the new instance. That's why I've conveniently moved over, like, stuff to the server. Let me fix some of this stuff. 20... I don't know why it locks to 165. What else is there? I said to turn this on for now. We'll see. I made to... Actually, yeah, no, this will end up looking weird. I'll keep it on for now. Nah, I feel like connected textures should probably not be doing this right now. But yeah, they look a little bit ugly. So, nope. I love how I'm just doing that while underwater. Uncaring. Anyways, yeah, now that I'm here, we can continue building. Yay. So... Yeah. Finally, a natural way to get slate. Not something I thought I would be naturally obtaining, but, you know. Also, I probably should just make another double chest. You know, one thing which I feel has helped to make Minecraft more than a lot of stuff which people like to give credit to is I feel the fact that this game can get really creepy really quickly. Oh, by the way, yeah. Never mind. Anyways, yeah, that's sort of the thing which I feel like a lot of people have kind of taken for granted without really thinking too much about. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these are 8. So we need to do 5 more. Yeah, okay, so it'll be like 3, then I'll do a 2 and then a 3. Shit, I should go back and get... I should, yeah, just go back and get some dirt for scaffolding. But yeah, like, Minecraft has always been an eerie game, right? Like, it's never been scary. But it's always been, like, a game that's kind of designed to be a little bit eerie. You've probably heard, like, oh yeah, back in the day... like, the thing is, right? There are a few reasons why Minecraft got its, I guess you could call it a scary reputation. Cave noises are obviously a big example. Like, because, you know, back before the cave noises, right? The game was very much a, you know, known sort of thing, even when they did add the monsters, because, you know, like, obviously, if you get jumped by a creeper, and there's the loud bang when it explodes, that's gonna, you know, that's gonna make you jump a little bit. And the blast probably will throw you, you know, in the air. But that's nowhere near as scary as when you're mining and you just hear a cave noise. And, you know, back in the day, you know, nobody knew how the cave noises worked internally because they were just cave noises. Really, cave noises just check if there's a place that is shrouded in, like, not sunlit darkness, so, like, you know, underground darkness. And it'll randomly check for stuff, and if, like, you know, it's why if you keep hearing cave noises in your house, there's probably a hole somewhere underneath the house or whatever. Or a cave system, and it's one of those things where, like, the cave noises themselves happened, like, just often enough to be creepy, but not often enough to where they were just, like, a standard part of the ambience. That is also why the fact a lot of them clearly had no explanation, kind of, you know, made them sound weird. If I was making Minecraft, I would probably add maybe a little bit more intent to some of the cave noises. Like, I would try to preempt them for, like, specific situations, like, you know, if a player is, like, you know, if a cave noise is kind of cute to play, but the player is right about to exit out of a cave, maybe if the player, like, the game detects the player has exited out of the cave at night, it may play that one cave noise that sounds like a helicopter flying overhead. Oh my god, fuck. And, you know, that is the change I would make, however... Overall, I think the cave noises are a brilliant addition, specifically because they're so inexplainable, you know? It's not like... I feel like that's an issue which, like, the original Dweller mod before all the other penis dwellers were added, like, the original Dweller mod was great in the sense that it finally added a horror mob, which wasn't just, you know, the John mod or Herobrine. But I feel like the way it tried to use cave noises kind of defeated the purpose of them. Because now, you know, if you hear a cave noise, then you may be fine. You hear too many of them at once. Oh, now there's a creepy thing down there. And I feel like the fact that, you know, you can hear the cave noises can't... Okay, that's a zombie. Like, I feel like that kind of takes away from the experience, because it's like, oh yeah, dude. Now you heard the cave noise, now the spooky scary man's gonna come after you. And then there are all the other mods that, like, stole the idea, basically, and made it somehow worse. Like, there was this one mod called Apollyon, which starts off kind of interestingly, and then it just turns into a giant crock of shit really quickly. Because we go from like, oh yeah, there could be some interesting storyline or something to this is basically just setting up the main enemy, who's just a big guy who looks really fucking goofy, who'll then like run at you and kill you. And I feel like another huge problem with a lot of those mods is that they're just designed around the idea that you know, you're not allowed to use Minecraft to your advantage when playing them. So, like, you'll be minding your own business, you'll get attacked, and oh yeah, some of these mods will like make it so the camera zooms into the enemy's face so it jump scares you before you have to enter the run segment, you know, fucking FNAF style. And then, oh, did you just try to you know, escape from the enemy in a block building game by placing blocks? Heh, I guess your base has now been destroyed. And then it's all the mods which pretend to be malware and then like try to shoehorn in a story. And like at that point it's just like, okay, well this is clearly a mod, not meant for you to experience, but for like, you know, your YouTuber that you watch to experience. It's kind of like FNAF in that sort of sense. And yeah, I mean, I haven't played any of the stupid horror mods myself, because why would I? What do they add to the game? The only reason why you would play any of those mods is so that your reaction, so people could, like, you know, see your reaction. That's it. And, oh yeah, well, what if the mod is shit? Well, then, you know, the point is still to see your reaction. It's just that your reaction isn't gonna be, wowzers, dude, that's so scary. You know, screaming like Tobuscus, fucking, no. Or you wouldn't have, like, that thing. You would just have, like, you know, you being like, heh, ha. Well, if they think that's gonna scare me, think again. And that's like the entire YouTube horror ecosystem. And obviously within the ecosystem there are, like, you know, good YouTubers and bad YouTubers, in the sense that, like, you know, not everybody can be like a competent horror YouTuber in the sense that, like, you know, you can keep interesting reactions. But I feel like at least if like the Minecraft horror mods, also yeah, I'm going up another floor. At least one more floor. The like less I give a shit, the happier I am, because so many of the Minecraft ones are just kind of pathetic. You know, that's kind of why I like using the stupid term I made up, the penis dweller, because it's just like, you know, the point is to make fun of the mods. The point is that it's nonsense, that who gives a shit? And I call it, if you're not aware about the actual point of the, why the, it's because basically, like, all of these mobs were called, like, you know, the something dweller, the something or other dweller. And obviously, you know, that's where the joke comes in. Because what's funnier than genitalia? But, you know, it is honestly more entertaining sometimes to watch videos of people, like, you know, just straight up playing through the mods, like, zero reaction, just being like, yeah, so it just destroyed my base. I'm gonna have to go rebuild that. That sucks. Okay, now it's typing things in chat. That's okay. Oh, great! Now it's gonna kill me again. That's fun. You know, that is the whole enjoyment you'll get out of some horror mods. And if you're just playing it by yourself, in most of them, there's no enjoyment to be had. Which then, brings us onto the question of how do you make a good Minecraft horror mod? Which begs an arguably far more difficult question to answer. Can you make a good Minecraft horror mod? Because I'm not convinced you could really do... The issue is, right? Whenever you have, like, horror creatures in a game that may not be designed around them necessarily, they're always gonna appear a bit shit. Honestly, one great example of what I think could have been done in a game that wasn't necessarily horror-themed, I feel that, adding... If Rockstar added Bigfoot to GTA San Andreas, like, if it actually was, like, either a really rare chance to, spot him... Honestly, it could have been, like, an entirely different sort of set of submissions, maybe at the UFO parlor bar thing on the third island, if you know what I'm talking about. There's like this map with a bunch of basically like a little bar where like the guy running it is a conspiracy nut. What if maybe, you were like trying to find clues and such on a little side mission, and then, that would lead you to, Baco Beyond, and then you would have your standoff with Bigfoot. Things could be done. Because, GTA... At the end of the day, it's, having spooky-ass shit kind of get, recontextualized in the GTA universe, right? But with Minecraft, you can't do that because it's such a free-form game that you kind of deal with the very big problem of not everybody wants that. And Minecraft is a really complicated game to develop for, specifically because, I mean, Better Than Adventure itself is an example of, like, if you try to make a vanilla alternative mod, you will need to develop stuff in every direction, right? Because there are so many, like, mods out there, or let's take, like, mod packs, right? That only go in one direction. Like, I love me some Tekkit, and Tekkit is exclusively a tech mod pack. And if you like, having your own little farm, if you like, pillaging, exploring, Tekkit isn't really gonna do it for you, because it's meant to play like a 3D version of Factorio that is programmed way worse, and, that's just not something you're gonna get from that, And similarly, with a big issue with modern Minecraft is that trying to appeal to everyone, it doesn't work out that well. I feel like the healthiest thing for Mojang to do in the future is just to, like, every single update or whatever, pick out a part of the community and work on something that would make them happy. This update is dedicated to the PvP heads. This update is dedicated to the people who like little, niche side features. This one is dedicated to people who like, automation and stuff. This update is dedicated to the people who like farming. This one's dedicated to making building more convenient. That is what I feel is the sort of better choice, rather than the, way they're going about it. And since Better Than Adventure is a much smaller mod, already developers have, like, a smaller window of people who they need to satisfy. Like, of course, 5-year-old Timmy on his iPad isn't going to be playing Better Than Adventure, so a lot of the features can often be things that, we, people who grew up with the game, wanted for a while. And I feel like that kind of is Well, that's the first one I made the mistake on, at least. And I feel like that can really easily be seen in, like, a lot of the features. Like, you know, the Nether update was designed with this in mind. They added a lot of stuff for, like, automation purposes, which is good. The only thing which is left now for them to add is some kind of way of, like, inputting and outputting stuff into blocks. Preferably in a very, like, packaged sort of way, so that I could finally, once and for all, have the fully automatic tree generator. Because right now, the tree generator system that I've been very slowly devising, it has the problem of me needing to manually put in the saplings and the bone meal. And the bone meal could very easily be gotten from, you know, the skeletons. It still needs to manually be crafted and transported, though. And then you have, like, the other thing. Oh, we're fine. Which are the saplings. Which, the tree farm, the way I designed it, the fully automatic hyperfast tree farm, that can produce, like, a full chest of logs in 5 minutes. Yeah, that thing can actually just... What do I look? This looks... Look at that. Honestly, yeah, I really love how some of this stuff looks. But yeah, like, if I want to do that, I'm gonna have to, like, the saplings, I've done some... I basically took a concept of the standard, like, super quick farm and added a bunch more pistons strategically placed so I can harvest the maximum amount of leaves. And in general, I can, like, have a positive sapling ratio, which means that the only resource taken by my farm is, in fact, literally just, you know, the fucking bone meal. And, you know, bone meal is easy to get since it's literally free. And that's when I'll reveal... I went into creative mode and, like, looked underneath here. And shockingly, I didn't plan for this. There's a skeleton spawner underneath. Because I wanted to go down there and just see, like... Because I was hearing the mobs, and I just wanted to check, like... Are there caves down there? And there are. So... There's a skeleton spawner. I'm happy about this, purely because... I was gonna want to explore the caves anyways. But more importantly... I believe I know of a skeleton spawner. All the way at the base... Like, back home, and it would be really miserable to build a farm all the way over there when I'm on a project all the way over here. Although that is, like, one reason for, like, you know, why you may want to have everything you're working on in one place. But then again, it's a question of, okay, but what if I want more build variety, you know? I don't know. But yeah... As I was saying earlier, though, a huge thing, at least for me, with, like, you know, Minecraft horror or whatever, is specifically the fact that, like, the old game was so much scarier, partially because nobody knew anything. I feel like a big reason for why, for instance, GTA San Andreas was such a, you know... expansive, you know, GTA San Andreas was such a huge game for the time, right? And so the issue of that was when, you know, people were theorizing what could be out there, people knew less. People would assume things would happen, which very much could happen. Because as GTA is a lot more of a, you know, limited game, for instance, you really could have... like, a lot of the... Like, you know, in theory, a lot of the cryptids people were discussing back then, everything from, like, Pigsy and Bigfoot to Mothman and whoever the fuck else. Especially when some of them, like the ghost cows, were sort of proven semi-true. And the, like, people running through the woods, which is a weird glitch, because, of the way the pathfinding works when two NPCs start a fight in the woods, and one of them has like a chance to flee instead of fighting, and when they flee, if they're in the woods on one of those like dirt roads, not dirt roads, but on one of those roads with no sidewalk, they'll pathfind to the nearest sidewalk, which will take them directly through the forest, where the guy who was filming a video at one point was located, and he caught it out of the corner of his eye. This is an extremely rare situation, obviously, and it sent them down a huge rabbit hole of, you know, Mike Torino, he'll be watching you, that sort of stuff. And I feel like that kind of interaction of janky game mechanics, you know, in an old game, plus everything else, I feel like, okay, that's good, this is high enough to where they die in impact. I feel like that element of, you know, old and mysterious game syndrome sort of helps. Because the game is big and open enough to where, like, and, you know, janky enough to where, you know, you can just kind of shrug and say, yeah, man, weird things can sometimes happen, I guess. And it wouldn't be, you know, maybe to, like, you, the epic gamer X5000, you know, this isn't believable at all. Very obviously, you know, the PlayStation 2 simply couldn't have. No, I'm gonna be real with you. Most of those cryptids that I've seen people describe, they would have been more than possible in original hardware, because most of the time it's just a custom enemy with a custom AI. Obviously, the issue is, you know, getting any of that to run as a mod would be like... I don't even know how you would get that to work. You know, but obviously with PC, with all the custom modded launches we have, it's obviously, like, infinitely easier to mod stuff in. That's why people did. Shit. I know a solution. Watch this. But did he already jump off? Nope. Ah, we made a mob farm. Ooh, oh. Huh? Wait, how did you live? I'm not going down there. Shit. Hey, you ain't got no lips. How the hell can you eat potato chips? But yeah, it's... I don't know, I feel like GTA myth busting is like, a thing which I really, really, really regret. You know, at the time, being too young and too unskilled to ever, you know, take part in. Because it's just one of those things which holds a lot of cultural value in my head. Obviously not any real cultural value, it's fucking GTA stuff, right? But I still feel like it's just one of those things which missing out on means that, you know, I'll never be able to experience, you know. It's, again, I guess, like, a lot of the things I think about kind of wrap around a few, like, core points that kind of, you know, I think about, because, you know, I guess, you know, when you're in your 20s, you get the nostalgia brain, and then eventually you either grow out of it, or, well, it's not either, there are three options. You either learn to live with it, grow out of it, or become entirely obsessed with it. And I hope I'm gonna be the learn to live with it option, because I don't wanna, like, you know, pretend, because a lot of the time, you know, it's kind of like when people are like, oh yeah, I grew out of my video game phase, or whatever. Oftentimes, it's, you know, it's not even, like, really growing out of it as much as, like, you know, for a variety of reasons, you convincing yourself that it's actually better for you to, like, you know, because growing out of stuff doesn't really function in the same way, I would say. Obviously, there are things you will grow out of. I'm sure that, like, most people don't, you know, I guess, like, you lose a bit of creativity when you go from, like, being a little kid to being, like, even a teenager, honestly. But, like, growing out of stuff happens at that point. Growing out of stuff doesn't happen, like, you know, at least in the hobby sense, generally between, like, you know, you being an adult and you being an older adult. But it's just, you know, whatever. And in my case, I feel like a big reason why a lot of the old YouTube stuff holds such a big grip on, oh, hello there, me specifically, is because, you know, and I'll talk about this in the next video, but, like, there's a sort of big, by the way, that's when we're finally starting to do that one. There's a thing I want to talk about, which I've never really known how to describe, but, and it may sound a little bit cynical, but it's specifically about, like, media consumption as a whole, and how, like, basically, I'll be there to describe how and why a lot of the, like, basically why we are in the state we are now. Because, to give you the sort of preamble, right? There are two kinds of people, generally. And this is, like, you know, the term, like, outsider versus normie. That's whatever a lot of people use, and these are the kind of, you know... These are the common terms. But really, I feel like, the terms are, like, I guess if you could... I guess a better set of terms would be somebody who... Because the way to describe it, right? It's somebody who enjoys art for the sake of art, and somebody who enjoys art for the sake of the community. And, in general, like, this is one big divide. And, again, it's sort of like, you know, neurotypical versus neurodivergent. It is, like, in a sense, it is like, you know, introvert versus extrovert in a sense. But in general... It's not like any of those. I feel like the best way to say it would be like, you know, it's simultaneously greater than any one of those examples. Because unlike, you know, any specific example, this encompasses, like, basically everything. Specifically, what I mean is, like, with the way you discuss art, right? There are two kinds of ways of, like, seeing art, and it's one of those things where you may be wondering, okay, well, why do some people only ever play, like, you know, it's kind of like when you have a lot of those, you know, gaming is dead videos. Something which people have to realize, and this is something which took me a while to realize myself, is that a lot of people have a really simple, and if we'll be real here, like, shallow view on art. And it is completely, entirely impossible to convince them to have anything but that view on art. To some people, art is forever, ever, ever, and ever just going to be about, you know, the currently big things. This is what, like, basically a part of this is, like, the monoculture stuff. For those who don't know what monoculture was this concept of, like, how back in the day, everybody kind of enjoyed the same few things for a variety of reasons. You know, before the internet, unless, like, you know, you were really limited on what you could really consume for entertainment. So, like, you know... Even if you didn't care about something, you know, about a TV show, if there was nothing better on to watch than that, well, you'll just have to watch it. And, you know, obviously back then, you know, your means of communications, your means of finding stuff out on your own were more difficult. Basically, it was really difficult to consume media that was outside of the sort of norm. And, that's sort of the difference, right? It's, where everything begins in the sort of, let's call it, shit, in the story that I want to tell. And actually, I'll finish this up in the next episode, because I've been knocked off one too many times. I'll see you then. Goodbye.